have you all here again. And we're all ready and waiting for our May picture book edition of Meet the Creator. And this is an absolutely gorgeous picture book. And I'm so glad that those of you that are watching the video are going to be able to see some of the images. But I have to say it's a very important picture book as well. So what we are going to be talking about today is the picture book called Me and My Hair, and I'd like to welcome Kim Kinlock.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Not at all, not at all. It's such a great book, such a great book.
Thank you. Thank
Are
you
you
so
happy to share a little snatch with our members first, please?
much. Okay, so this is Me and My Hair, written by myself and illustrated by Jessica Gibson and Sandra Becker Boré. So I'll just read you from the first page here. This is me, Kyra. I like shopping and football and drawing, and I love my hair. My friends don't really get my hair. So big, why does it grow up and out instead of down? It's just its natural style. I tell them big hair is normal for black people. It's called afro hair. Sometimes my friend Ahmed calls my hair fuzzy and tries to stroke it, which annoys me. It's not fuzzy, it's coily, and I'm not a pet. Mum says I should be proud of my hair. There are so many hairstyles you can do with it. This is Mum with one of her many amazing hairstyles. For a special treat, Mum says I can go to her hairdresser's. Yay! She warns me that it will take a long time, so I'm going to take a book with me. But first, my friend Mia comes round and we decide to do each other's hair. Kyra and Mia's hair salon. High ponytail for Mia. Mia's hair is flowy like a river. My brush glides through it. I wonder what it feels like to have flowy hair. I loop a scrunchie around Mia's hair and make it look like a tail on a pony or a unicorn. But her hair keeps slipping out. Now I get why she needs so many clips. Afro puffs for me. Next, it's Mia's turn to be the hairdresser. I pass her my detangling moisturizer. She squirts them into her hand and rubs it through my hair. Mia loves how soft my hair is. Then Mia parts and stretches little bands over each side to make two big puffs. I ask Mia to lay my edges, but she doesn't know what I mean. So I get some hair gel, a toothbrush, not the one for my teeth, and show her. You gel the wispy baby hair, then brush it down and make a flat, wavy pattern. Mia is impressed. I can't wait to go to the real hairdressers.
That was absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for giving us a bit of a feel for what
No
the
problem.
book's like.
No problem.
I've got lots of questions about the book. I have to say, I loved it. I loved it. And I love the fact that it's a picture book, but that's designed more for slightly older children, because often we think of picture books as being for very young children.
Right, yeah.
And this will go up the full length of primary, won't it?
I think so, yeah.
So what prompted you to write the book on this particular topic?
Well, obviously being a black woman myself with afro hair, I felt like there wasn't a lot of representation growing up as in my childhood. I went to quite a white school and most of my friends were white, if not all of them actually, and it was just my twin sister and I who were the only black girls in the year. And for a very long time it was fine because we grew up in the area, so we were always popular. There was never an issue. But as we got older, we started to feel a bit left out. And me personally, yeah, I didn't like how my friends didn't know about my hair. They'd always ask questions like you saw in the beginning of the book there, but the questions, it was either hard to answer it or embarrassing to answer, or I just literally didn't even know the answers. So yeah, I think parts of me wrote this for myself then, but also for children in that position that's still in that position today, or just to educate everyone as well. It's not just for black children. I think anyone can read this and just learn about another culture. So yeah, I think it's just there to help everyone learn a bit.
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't
Thank
agree
you.
more. And it was the little points that you made that probably hit me more.
Nice.
Things like somebody just touching your hair
Yeah.
without asking.
Mm,
And in these days of consent, that's something that you
it's
would
a big
think would
deal.
not happen.
Yeah. And it still happens today. I've seen people, I have two daughters and they have lovely afro hair as well. And people think they're being very friendly and lovely, but they still sometimes go in to touch it. And I just want to tell them that, you can say no to that. It's not okay. And I know people are trying to be nice and they're usually saying, oh, it's lovely, it's so soft, but it's still a part of them. And like you said, in the days of consent and awareness, I want them to understand that that's a big barrier and that's something that belongs to them. So yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it's on the same sort of lines as, from what my kids are very much grown up, but it's like when you're pregnant,
Yeah, exactly.
they can
Exactly
come
the
up and
same
touch
thing.
your stomach.
Yeah, and they're happy for you and trying to be nice, but it's still a part of your body that you don't want to be touched.
Exactly right. Definitely. Couldn't agree more. Now, the illustrations are stunning.
I agree. They're
Just,
gorgeous. Yeah.
and I think they add so much character. And the depictions of black hair are just amazing, aren't they? Were you happy with them? Silly question, because I'm sure you were.
Oh gosh, I was so pleased. It was amazing. So the main illustrator, there were two illustrators. Jessica Gibson done sort of the big ones you can see there on the cover,
Yeah,
and the hair detailed ones. And then we had Sandra Becker Bore who done the small doodly illustrations. And both of them are great. But Jess has really brought out the actual hair and the detail, and it was amazing. So Jess is black as well. She lives in New York, and it was really important to me and my team to find a black illustrator for that reason, someone who understands the hair and knows what we're talking about. But she really did go above and beyond. We would literally ask her to draw something like the cover there, and she'd be bringing her own little styles to it and everything and laying the edges. And we hadn't even asked to do that because she understood it. So she understood what we were talking about, and her knowledge, it just shows. You can see it in the illustration. She knows what she's doing. And yeah, it just really brought the book to life. So we were very chuffed.
it certainly does. And the books, in my opinion, it's a really fun read as
Oh, thank
well.
you.
It's a celebration of
Yeah.
black hair, which is what it should be. Um,
Yeah.
but it also puts you put the facts across in such an accessible way. I mean, was that something that was very important to you to make it? I'm not going to say interesting in its own right, but if you see what I mean, to make the story run as a story.
Yeah. I wanted to tell the story, yes. So we have Kyra, she has her friends and she goes to the hairdressers. But I also thought, like you said, it's the information. So I wanted it to be something kids can dip in and out of. Because sometimes it can be a bit of a heavy read. And I know my daughter now is 7 years old, the same age as Kyra. So I know I've seen her read it and she can't do the whole 32 pages at once. But yeah, I thought giving it that fun sort of narrative makes it a bit more relatable. And some of my friends who aren't black have also said that their kids love it as well because they recognize friendship, they recognize children. So
Yeah.
I wanted it to be a part of their world as well. Obviously, it's about hair, but I just wanted it to see it's about culture and what all these children are going through as well. So yeah.
Definitely. And as you say in the book, it's not just black hair.
Yeah.
My own daughter is ginger.
Oh, wow, great.
You can imagine I identified with all of that as well because
Yeah.
she's grown up with goodness only knows how much teasing, about
Oh, it's
having
such a
horrible
shame.
hair. But
It's awful.
she loves it now. Don't forget
Well,
it. We've always stressed her how beautiful it is, but it still happens. It does still happen.
yeah.
And I did recognise, some of the situations described in the book. What I found a little bit shocking, and I'd like your input on this. Surely not many schools still have rules about black hairstyles. Or is that your experience, or am I being a bit too hopeful?
My school, like I said, was a very white school, so I mean there wasn't really any need for rules, and so it was very liberal. But we wrote the book with a team called the Halo Collective, who are young girls now. Sorry, I should say women. They're in their 20s, but at the time when they were at school, only 5 or 6 years ago, this was their story. This is what we based it on, and it was still happening now. And they weren't allowed to wear black hairstyles, afros, cornrows, anything you like really. Just had to. They were told that the hair needed to look more straight and neat, and it's still going on. I think there was a school over in South Africa I read about a few years ago. The same thing. They were told to relax their hair, to literally put chemicals in their hair to make it straighter. And the kids, and these really were kids, they were like teenagers, young teenagers, they all protested. And I think it's the same case where the headmasters stood back and he said he understood a bit more. And I think the rules were dropped. But it's definitely happening all around. I've seen it in workplaces as well. A young man, I can't remember the place, I'm afraid, but he interviewed for a job and one of the questions were, would you be willing to tie your hair back? And it's not because it wasn't a hygiene thing or anything, not like a hairnet. It was just for professionalism. And this is the whole perception of Afro hair that's still going on today.
We still need to fight.
Yeah,
We still
exactly.
need to fight.
And to educate. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. And the one I was most shocked about,
yeah,
and I'd like you to explain this one a little bit to our listeners and also our viewers. I had no idea about the swimming hat rules for Black Olympians.
yeah. I mean, I knew this was the case, but we were writing this back then in 2022, and so literally as we were writing, it became legal. So we were like, we definitely want to put this in the book. But yeah, until 2022, everyone had to wear the same swimming hat, which didn't make sense, or it was discriminatory against people with larger hairstyles, particularly Afro hair, because it's so difficult to get on and it hurts so much. And also, what didn't make sense about it was that it's not a benefit. If anything, if you're thinking about, getting time off, you want to have the smallest swimming hat. But if people with Afro hair, sorry, are saying that they want this and they're willing to, increase the time or something, it should be allowed. I don't understand what the problem is. It's similar to it's not the swimming hat, but Serena Williams. She wasn't allowed to wear the type of clothes that she needed when after she'd had a baby and she almost died in childbirth. But she was expected to wear the same clothes as other people. But it's just that same thinking of you have to fit into this hole that everyone else is, and it just doesn't make sense. And if Afro hair needs just something easier, I don't understand why it wasn't the case until it took so long anyway.
No, that's what I found
Random.
unbelievable. That it was only changed like 2 years ago. It was like, oh,
The Olympics, the biggest stage. Yeah, it's crazy.
absolutely crazy. I do have to comment. This is only a little thing that I am made me smile. I have to comment on the football team pages too.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
for a start, the fact that we have a young girl here who is being distracted by looking at making up her own super team on football. I mean, yay, that was just amazing.
We
But
don't want to do that.
it was just so good, wasn't it? So good. And also, what I love the fact is that she's choosing her own super team, and her super team has got both male and female
Yeah,
players, which I
yeah.
thought, yes.
That's something that we wanted. Yeah, we didn't want it to. I mean, kids they don't think about this so much. They might say, "Oh, this is great. I want someone who looks like me." You just have to be in the picture, but the whole picture doesn't have to be about Kyra. So yeah, we wanted to have something of everything. Someone with short hair, long hair, shaved hair, different ethnicities. Yeah, I do like that spread. That was one of the funner ones today.
It was just wonderful. I loved it, absolutely loved it. And I enjoyed the book so much. I really do feel that this is a book that should be in every primary school library. I really
Oh, I hope
do,
so.
because
Yeah, that's
um,
the aim.
it's quite apart from anything else, it's such a fun, as I say, joyous book.
Thank
But so important. It is very
you.
important.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to ask what you're working on next?
Yes, you are, but it's nothing to do with Afro hair, I'm afraid.
Oh, that's fine.
I've just finished a book called Where Does Water Come From? And it's all about, as you can imagine, water. And it's a bit younger than this book. It's aged about 4+, I think. Yeah. And it's, yeah, just educating children on the history of water, the water cycle, water droughts, and why it's important to keep hydrated, how much our body needs water. It's a lift the flat book. And yeah, that comes out in January next year.
Lift the flaps are always the winner.
Yeah.
Always the winner.
Yeah, it was fun to write that one as well.
As I mentioned earlier, I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, and yeah, as soon as something's got to lift the flap in it, she is
Yeah, yeah,
over the moon.
I remember
So,
that.
with your own daughter, I mean, you said she doesn't tend to read the book all at once, which, and I have to say, I've got to pick up on that point that you made about making it easy to dip in and out of, because I
Yeah.
think you've done that so well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Because you could easily read a couple of pages, come back to it later, read another couple of pages, and I think that's fantastic. But as you have a daughter of that age, I've got to ask, what does she like to read?
What does Isla like to read? She started reading comic books. So I have two daughters, I should say, but my 7-year-old is the more confident reader because my other one's 4. And yeah, Isla started reading comic books. She likes Bumble and Snug. I don't know if you've heard of that one. Um, Bunny versus Monkey she enjoys, but it's a tiny bit too old. But I keep telling her, we're struggling with this. Maybe we should come down a level. But no, she knows best. So yeah, Bunny versus Monkey, Bumble and Slug, and what was the other one I bought her recently? It slipped my mind, sorry. But yeah, comic books for her at the moment. She's turned 7 tomorrow, actually. But yeah, that's all she's been asking for is comic books anyway.
I have to say, she's tapping into one of my great loves. I
Anyway,
love a comic book, love a graphic novel. So,
it's great to see. Yeah,
especially at that age, because they're so bright, aren't they, and engaging and colourful.
yeah, they're so great. Especially the Jamie Smart books are amazing.
Anything by Jamie Smart is just brilliant. Let's face
Yeah,
it. I mean, the man's a
exactly.
genius,
Yeah,
absolute genius. Books are just fabulous. Well, unfortunately, we have come to the end of our time. These interviews always just fly by. They absolutely do.
quick.
But I have to say, I did love the book. Very
Oh, thank
much
you.
enjoyed it.
Oh, I'm chuffed. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving up your time.
No,
And
not at all.
I'll look forward to see the water one with the lift the flaps. That
Yeah,
sounds great.
comes out next year. Thank you.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our May Meet the Creator series. And today we're going to be talking to Terry Liebenson about her extremely fun new book that has had me giggling. Believe me, it has had me giggling out loud, and it's called Always Anthony. So, very welcome to you, Terry, and it's really nice of you to come and chat to us today.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be on with you.
Well, it's a bit amazing for me because, of course, you're not just up the road, are you, Terry?
Not quite.
No, not quite. No, in a total, completely different continent, which makes it even more special that you've come to talk to us. So, thank you ever so much for sending me the video of you doing a bit of a reading from the book. And if it's okay with you, I'm actually going to pause just for a moment, and I'm going to share some of that now.
Prologue, Anthony. I've never been what you'd call an open book. Nope. Not to say I don't have feelings or anything. I do. I just hide them well. My best friend Tyler once made a chart documenting all my moods. The inner moods of Anthony. Happy, sad, scared, indifferent, confused, hungry, enraged, asleep. When I saw it, I laughed, but I didn't actually think it was funny. It kind of made me feel like a robot or something, which sounds cool in theory, but not in practice. Sad movie. Bleep, bloop, blork. Translation. What am I missing? It also had me wondering if that's how other people see me, not just Tyler. But eventually I shrugged it off. I mean, it was a joke. I was making too big a deal of it, right? Right. But if that's true, poker face outside, swirling thoughts inside. Why do I still think about it?
Okay, that was fabulous. Thank you very much. That's absolutely wonderful, Terry. Now, I know this is the 8th book in the series, or at least in the UK, it's the 8th book in the series. And I'm sorry to say it's the first one that I've caught up with. It's the first one I've read, but I've had a look at the others online. But they all seem to have a very strong underlying theme of friendship and the importance of friendships. Why is this such an important theme to you, and especially for this age of reader?
Sure, that's a great question. Yes, this is actually my 8th book overall, here as well. And by the way, the books can absolutely be read as standalones, so you're fine just reading that one. So yeah, friendship, absolutely a huge running theme in all of these books. I tend to come up with all these little complicated scenarios, relationship scenarios in these books, and these poor characters, I force them to navigate these tricky situations. It's usually friendship challenges. Sometimes it's crushes. Sometimes it's family situations. Sometimes all three. And that's known to happen. But I think it's important because this is really the age where kids are really trying to test out friendships and relationships. Sometimes they shed friendships and take on new ones. Sometimes they just feel really isolated. I know I did at that age. There's a lot of exclusion going on, some ghosting, some outright bullying. And this one definitely tackles physical bullying. Although I've written about all different types of bullying in this series.
Yes, of course, because yours is set in middle school, isn't it, in America?
Yes.
So what sort of age range would you say it's best for?
Sure. Well, the books are geared toward 8 to 12-year-olds, but I always say it kind of depends on the reader. I've had precocious 7-year-olds read these books if they're really into reading or like comics, and that's fine. Even 13 and up can read the books. There are a lot of middle schoolers and high schoolers who love comics, and grown-ups enjoy it. So I really say it's for anyone, but it's mainly geared toward 8 to 12-year-olds.
Yeah, which is exactly where I'd have put it. Although, as I say, reading it as an adult, I found it very funny and absolutely loved it. So there we are. I really enjoyed a bit of the book that I really enjoyed was reading about Leah's family's Fridays. And can you tell us a little bit about that and what happens on Fridays for them?
Oh, sure. So the book stars two main characters. We have Anthony and Leah, and they're seemingly pretty opposite, different personalities, that kind of thing. Leah tends to be very timid and reclusive and shy and bookish, whereas Anthony is quite the opposite. But Leah has a special observance. She happens to be Jewish, which kind of echoes my own family. And she celebrates something called Shabbat, which kind of greets the weekend, or the day of rest, I should say, from Friday night sundown to Saturday night sundown. So they light candles, they say blessings. So it's an important tradition for their family.
And I think that's really great for younger children who perhaps aren't Jewish, because it allows them to see the traditions in another religion, not their own. As we all know, books should be both windows and mirrors, so it gives them
Absolutely.
a window, into other children's lives. And I particularly love the fact that what she considers to be part of her Friday tradition is that her brother always drops something. I just thought that it really brought that warm family feeling of, oh, well, he's always the clumsy one, which, yeah.
Which is like me, actually, personally.
Well, you're in good company because I'm exactly the same. My husband swears I could walk across an empty room with one glass of water in and I'd still knock it over. So perhaps I had a little bit of fellow feeling there reading about that. As you've already mentioned, there is a very strong anti-bullying message in the book, and it's great seeing how Anthony and Leah deal with it. But I also like the way that you also dealt with Anthony's parents, who have, let's face it, got a trifle unreasonable high standards for him, and very much put pressure on him to do really well. So what prompted you to write about those themes?
I just know a lot of families like that. And I think my husband and I have been slightly guilty of that in the past as well, where you can be a little bit of a helicopter parent. So yeah, Anthony's parents are very high, they're high achievers, and they are, they tend to put the pressure on him to do the best he can. And I think as the book progresses, there's a bit of an evolution with their parenting, thank goodness. And Anthony, he learns some things along the way as well, that sometimes like maybe he hasn't been doing what he really needs to do. For instance, he has a hard time writing and he needs some help, and he's had some issues with that. And he's gone through periods where he's tried, but then he's kind of like pulled back because he's more interested in other subjects at school. So yeah, it delves into that quite a bit.
Well, it also, I love the fact that it shows Anthony's growth, because of course we do find, and I know this is spoilers, guys, but this is for your kids to read, not necessarily for you. So big spoiler alert here. But we do come to find that Anthony, although he hasn't really been good at standing up to bullies, but we find that he has been a bully himself, young. And that whole growth is amazing. I loved reading about that, because he does actually realize that what he did was wrong, and it's the whole empathy that's built on, isn't it?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. That's the huge theme in this. There's a lot of sub themes, but that's the important one. And I think Leah goes through a lot of growth as well. And she learns not to judge other people, because she's always been, she's been a little triggered by the whole bullying incident that occurs in this book as well. And she's had to get over some, I'm trying to think of the word, she's trying not to judge people on their appearance. She's sort of grouping all the popular kids into one group, and she's completely intimidated by them. But as she gets to know Anthony, and his friends, she starts to realize that, there's nothing to be afraid of when it comes to them. It's, she sort of gets over herself a bit.
Yeah, and I do think that was really interesting, because there are lots of books that, you've got the tropes, haven't you? You've got the popular kids, and then you've got the geeks, if you like.
Right.
And I was probably a geek. I was probably one, and I still am at my age, but it was nice to see her finding out that, that is just a facade, and that there are real people behind that group, but that are lovely people, which was really nice to see.
Right. She gets over her prejudices. That's the word. She
does indeed. She does indeed. Yeah.
They kind of both do.
I mean, obviously it's written in a comic book style, and I love the illustrations, because they're both very funny and also very charming, and they convey lots of feeling. But of course, having those illustrations also makes the books more accessible for a lot of kids. So how do the writing and the pictures come together for you? What's the chicken and egg scenario, if you like?
Sure. So a little secret, before I started creating these books, I was actually a cartoonist. So I've always loved the marriage between writing and visual art. I feel like it's something that comes really naturally to me. I used to write a syndicated comic strip. And so for me, this is more like long form comics. So writing a book, even though it's really, the book is more of a hybrid, it's part illustrated novel and part graphic novel. But it all kind of plays out the same way. So usually what I do is I write the entire book itself. I really don't have any artwork in it. I've learned the hard way that if I add artwork in there to begin with, because the book undergoes so many edits and changes, a lot of the artwork would be scrapped, or I'd have to redo a lot of it. So instead, I indicate where the art's going to go and what it's going to be, because I still have those images in my head. I just type it out in detail and use like a different color font, and that way my editor and I can see how the writing and art would flow together. And then I do all the art separately, and then we just make sure it all works together in the end. So we have a good system.
So it seems to work. Definitely works very well. Okay, so what are you working on next? Is it the next one in the series?
It is. I'm heavily into that right now. I've got the 9th book. I can't really, spill any secrets about that. I can give you a hint that it's also going to be about a boy and a girl next time as well. And I'm really enjoying this one. So yeah, it kind of takes place outside of the middle school realm. It still has all the characters, but I'll spill the beans on this one a little bit, but it's supposed to be during a class trip outing. So
that's interesting.
Yeah,
it's got scope, doesn't it? Taking it out of the school environment.
Right, exactly. And it'll it'll be fun for me as an artist too, because I won't have to keep drawing lockers and desks.
Yeah.
I can draw trees and, and other things, outdoor things.
It has been absolutely lovely talking to you, Terry. And as I say, I really did enjoy the book. And I think they'd be perfectly pitched for the age group you talked about, but also great, as you say, for older children that are perhaps reluctant readers, that don't like anything too long. And I think they'd enjoy it just as much because there's so much humour in there. It is just such fun. So
Okay.
thank you very much for coming to talk to us, and we'll be looking forward eagerly to the next one.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking.